Welcome to Leave the Key Radio Show, where we'll discuss all things real estate, including how you can easily make money in real estate. I'm your host, Larry Wagner, and I'm sitting here with my partner, Jamell Givens.
Hello, everyone.
How you doing, Jamell?
Good, how are you?
You got that really deep radio voice I wish I had. Anyway, but I'm not in the dating market right now, so I guess I don't need it any longer. Anyway, we're here to talk about many things about real estate, but a lot about what we do specifically in the real estate arena. We are the typical cash buyers at first sight. That's what people think, but we consider ourselves quite different than our competitors, and we'll review some of that today. We're also going to discuss how you can make money in real estate without going through all the work that we go through in order to make a living. Anyway, I wanted to talk about which Mel maybe is your most influential a person you've ever dealt with, most influential deal you've ever dealt with. Last week we talked about the first one you've ever done. How about this week, your most influential?
Most influential? That's a good question. So there was one of my earlier deals where a woman, she had gone through a pretty nasty divorce, and she had been left with the kids, and she was going to lose the home. It wasn't something that was going to happen right away, but the writing was on the wall, and we were able to come in and save her from that, and also keep her in the home and give her time to move. She was going to move to Florida, but she needed a little bit of time, and she also needed a little bit of money. So we were able to do that. Whereas if we hadn't stepped in, she may have lost the property and she wouldn't have gotten any money and possibly evicted. So, again, that made me feel really good to be able to step in and help her and her kids.
Did that change the way you engage in this business at that point?
Definitely. I mean, anytime, we're all human. Anytime we can help someone and make money in the process, it's like it's the perfect scenario. You can't ask for much more. So, yeah, I mean, you go into every deal. We as a company, Leave the Key, we go into every deal thinking, how can we help the seller? We know we can make money, but how can we help the seller to make this as easy as a transaction, as seamless as possible? So, from that day on, every deal I go into, I say, how can I help the customer first? And that's the way we carry ourselves.
Our philosophy is when we help a customer, we get helped in return. That's not 100% of the time, and it's not a tit-for-tat kind of world. We may help one person, doesn't mean that person has the ability to help us, but in the long run, it all balances out, and we run a company based on that. Have you ever heard from this woman again? I
haven't. She did write me a nice letter, after, but haven't heard from her since. But
you got a letter from her?
Yeah.
What was the content of the letter?
Just really thanking me for saving her and her family from the situation they were in, and he spoke to my character, which it made me feel really good.
You are a real character. I will give you that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't dispute that for a moment, but that's what makes this business so enjoyable. Oh, yes, we make money. We're in business to make money, like every business has to be. But the fact that we can help people, and then people really appreciate a lot of what we do, and that makes it so really enjoyable. We work on some basic core values in our company. When we hire anybody, they have to meet our core values. And the number one core value is integrity. I guess that covers so many other things like honesty and being honorable and so on. And that's a perfect example where you feel like integrity really, really it came to play. And I find sometimes that's what differentiates us from others. On that topic, there are different people in this business. There are flippers, and those are the guys like Christina and Torek on Flip or Flop TV show. And there's a whole bunch of those shows. And by the way, Jamell and I are on radio for a reason. If you want to go to our website, leavethekey.com, that's leavethekey.com. Maybe you'll take a look and see if we should be on TV as well. I don't know. But with that in mind, there are flippers, which you're familiar with from watching television, or surely many people are. Those shows are incredibly popular. There's also wholesalers. And whenever I ask a seller, are they familiar with the wholesaler concept, they have no clue what I'm talking about. And it's something anybody should understand the difference. And whether you're looking to sell your house, someone's looking to sell their house and needs to get out quickly, or has a bad situation, the house is in need of significant repair, things of that nature. They may have inherited a house they don't know what to do with. Again, they can call us at leavethekey.com, but they're going to call. Oftentimes, they'll call multiple people, and we are basically flippers. And Jamell, do you want to give a quick description of what a flipper is versus a wholesaler?
Yeah. So flippers typically will buy the property and go through the entire process of rehabbing it, listing it on the market for sale. And that process usually takes, depending on what they're doing, usually anywhere from 6 months to a year. Whereas a wholesaler is someone who will go into contract on the property and they will then sell that contract to a flipper. Like ourselves, we've bought tons of deals from wholesalers where, so they're not actually closing on the deal. So, it's a different process, but ultimately it ends up in the hands of a flipper.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with selling to a wholesaler. The problem I have, going back to a core value of integrity, is that I find more often than not that people are dealing with wholesalers, they're unaware. They believe these wholesalers are flippers, that they're going to buy the house and then someone else shows up at the closing table. What we do, we flip about 85% of the houses we buy, sometimes even 100% depending on where we are at the time. We try to keep our inventory to a certain level, and sometimes just too many houses come in all at one time. But we let the seller know there's an 85% chance we'll be at the table and a 15% chance we'll be there with somebody else. Where other wholesalers don't do that, they think sellers won't want to do business with them. And that, I think, shows a lack of integrity. But is there a difference? The process is really the same for the seller. Functionally, it's the same process for them.
Yeah.
But sometimes if they deal directly with the flipper, is there an advantage?
There can be, because a wholesaler's entire job is to make a spread between the contract price with the seller and the contract price with the flipper. So if, for instance, if a flipper is willing to pay $10,000 more for that deal, that money could have gone to the homeowner in that situation. So yes, there's an advantage of dealing with someone like ourselves who can flip the property, like you said, 85% of the time we do.
Right. But let's also address something else about the wholesaler. Oftentimes these properties can't be sold conventionally. They're not mortgageable. It's hard to put them on MLS because MLS attracts people who are going to get mortgages on their house in almost every instance. And a good wholesaler will have a wholesale list, a list of buyers. We have a list of buyers, about 400 people who come to us to find wholesale deals. And those are people that may not be looking on MLS because it's not the kind of deal they're looking to buy. So a wholesaler with a good wholesale list can really serve a purpose, and you may not get any less with the proper kind of wholesaler. I think that's important to know. But more than anything, it's all about integrity, and it's more about them letting you know what they are doing. It's something, I'm the one who now deals in the sales end of the business. This is something new for me. So if you reach out to us, you're going to basically most likely speak to me or get me to come by your house or so on. But I will tell you the same thing I'm saying right now. We buy about 85% and we wholesale about 15%. And again, our goal is to buy everything. It just depends how many deals come in at any given time. But this business can have a less than ideal reputation. And I think that's really the reason why. But it really shouldn't be. People think they're getting gypped when they sell to a cash buyer, but they're selling to a cash buyer for a reason. They have a problem. They need a solution. We're a real estate solutions company, and our job is not necessarily to buy your house, but to offer you a solution. And oftentimes that involves actually purchasing your house. Many times it doesn't. But that's something that you have to really focus on. Not are you looking to sell your house. What is the actual problem, and what is the solution to that problem? And at this point, we're going to take a quick break. You're listening to the Leave the Key Real Estate Radio Show. We're back in a moment. Hello, this is Larry Wagner with the Leave the Key Radio Show. We are here to discuss all things real estate, and as I promised just a little while ago, we're going to talk about how you can make money very easily in real estate. Well, Jamell and I, as partners, work very hard to make money in real estate. We work lots of hours every week. We have a staff of 7 or 8 people. It fluctuates a little bit. Plus, we have some people out of the country who work for us, all in order to be able to buy and sell houses. But you can do the same thing, make money in real estate without having to do any of that. What we do is we, as an industry, borrow money from individual people in many, many cases to fund the deals we do. We're fortunate enough to have deep enough pockets that we fund many of the deals out of our own pocket, but we also borrow money as well because we can have easily $15, $20 million worth of houses at any given time. Clearly, we don't have that kind of money. So anyway, Jamell got us a deal in Bayshore for $265,000, and it needed $35,000 of construction. The value of the house after we were going to repair it was $375,000. So that means we're borrowing $300,000 against an asset worth $375,000, and we're going to give these people a regular mortgage just like the banks get. So, in other words, the real estate market would have to take a deep dive before the house would be worth less than the money they owed us. So they're very well protected, and they felt very comfortable with this. This deal took only 6 months. We bought the house, renovated, and sold it within 6 months, which is about as quick as you get in our business. Long Island's a very slow process with permits and so on. And these people invested $300,000, which could have been you, and they ended up making $7,500. They were earning on this deal, they got 5% interest, and the interest rate in the bank right now is about 0.5%. So again, about every month, they made what would take them a year to make in the bank. And they felt very comfortable with that, and they love the process. Jamell, don't you find people always want to get involved in the lenders always want to get involved in the process?
Yeah, they love to give us ideas on what we should be doing construction wise and
Right.
design ideas. But it's great because they get to come along for the ride and make some money in the process.
Right. They see flippers on television all the time, and they feel like now they're a little bit involved in the business, and they get very excited by it.
Yeah.
So you sit there and buy a mutual fund. It just sits and you watch it every quarter, every month, whatever, and it's boring. This gives them a little bit of excitement. Some people ask for pictures. We give them weekly pictures. Whenever our project manager goes to visit, we just email them an update of what's going on, and they get very excited. They feel very vested, and they're making much more than they're making in the bank, 10, 12 times more than they're making in the bank. And it's a perfect deal. This also works for people who have IRAs or pension plans. If you're interested in finding out how to get involved in, or learning more, I should say, about lending money to people in the real estate business, you can reach out to us at leavethekey.com. That's leavethekey.com. At leavethekey.com, you just go to the Contact Us section, leave your name and phone number, and somebody will reach out to you right away. Anyway, so that was the deal of the week as far as a lending deal. We also want to talk today about the difference between dealing with a cash buyer, like Leave the Key, or selling your house with a regular realtor. Jamell, your background, you were a realtor, you were a broker, and also you own with me this business we do, cash buying.
Yeah.
How would you sit there and tell a client which way to go, what the difference is, the benefits, the pros, the cons? Since you do both,
Yeah.
you're really as objective as they come.
Yeah. So, we always, like I said, we always look to educate the seller as much as possible. And one of the main reasons people call us in as investors is because they want to cut through the red tape, if you will. They don't want to deal with a bunch of people in and out of their homes, negotiating with different realtors. And, then when you find a buyer, they want, you to fix a railing or add a light here. And then it becomes labor intensive for the seller. With us, it's usually 1 or 2 visits. We come in, we do our own inspection, so there's no home inspection who's going to come and tear apart your house and make it seem like it's a tear down. And there's no appraisal. It's all cash. And the biggest feature, well, before I get to that, I'll go back for a sec. Also there's no commission. But in my opinion, the biggest feature is you can tailor fit your situation. Meaning, if you want to close in a few weeks, most people can't get a mortgage in a few weeks. We had a situation years ago in Comac. They needed to close in 2 weeks because they were buying a house and they needed the money immediately.
Oh my gosh, that's a real stressful situation.
Yeah, they called us. We were in contract literally the next day, and we closed in under 14 days.
Wow. Is that typical? We can close in under 14 days?
It's a little tougher now with COVID because of the title situation, but it can be done, depending on the area and how quickly we can get title. Mm-hmm. The great thing is we have the money sitting in our accounts. So it's not like we have to make a phone call to get the funds or, get inspections and things like that for someone else to release funds to us. Right. The money's in our account typically or most of the time. So if we get a deal and someone needs to close immediately, that can easily be done.
As we said a moment ago, that we do borrow money from individuals. We also borrow money from national lenders, but we also have our own money. And one of the reasons we do borrow money, so we always have our own money, so we can close instantly and don't need it when we need it in a rush. There's no money faster than our own money.
Yeah. And then there was another example where we had a couple. They were retired and they owned a home in Florida already.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. It was in Plainview, and we went into contract with them in April, and they wanted to close in October because September, they're a Jewish family, and September is a lot of the holidays.
Correct.
So they scheduled a date for like October 5th, I believe it was, 6 months in advance. And they knew exactly what they wanted. They didn't want a bunch of people in the house. They wanted to deal with, they wanted to have a buyer, be done with it, and not have to think about it until October. We were able to schedule their date 6 months out of closing date. You can't do that with a traditional buyer who's getting a mortgage. They may get the mortgage in 30 days, and then they're locked into a rate, and they have to close, within a certain period of time. With us, the money sat there, so, and they knew that we were solid. We spoke with them throughout the process. They loved us. I mean, you spoke to them quite a few times yourself.
I did. We got, as a matter of fact, a referral on our website from them.
Yeah, we're very happy. So you could see there are two different examples in which going with a cash buyer could be more advantageous to a homeowner.
Something else also. I know my own father. He would never let me have I always wanted to have a garage sale or a tag sale to sell stuff, and he said he didn't want the nosy neighbors going through our garbage. That was his feeling. And now my folks are both gone and we're about to sell their house. And out of respect for my folks, especially my father, there's no way I'm selling the house retail. I wouldn't do it. We're going to end up fixing it ourselves and basically flipping my parents' house. But I wouldn't have wanted to sell it retail because I don't want the nosy neighbors going through their house. I know it's something they wouldn't have wanted. And it happens all the time. We all know about the looky-loos.
Yeah.
The people come just to see because they want to see the house, how fancy or not fancy, to be polite, my neighbors lived.
Yeah.
And it serves no purpose. It's just chit-chat. It's just what's what I'm even looking for. Just being nosy, plain and simple. Also, something else that's less obvious, when you're selling a house, how many people are involved in the process when you go through a realtor? I mean, because you're really not particularly... That's the answer.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, it's, as the realtor, you're talking to the mortgage broker, you're talking to the other agent if there was a buyer's agent and you're the listing agent. You're talking to both attorneys, you're talking to the seller. I mean, it's there's a lot. And, you got to walk through the sellers through all this because they want to know, hey, what's going on? When's the appraisal? And when's this? And you got to make all these calls and wait for them to call you back sometimes. It can be very stressful for a seller, to have to go through all of that. And then the worst part of all of this is you could be in contract for 60, 90 days. And then, in unfortunate times like this, we had a deal not too long ago. The buyer was a teacher. Of all jobs, you would think that's a solid job. The husband and wife. The husband lost his job right before our closing.
Right.
So if they lose their job, they're no longer qualifiable for that mortgage.
Yep.
So now a seller who's shifted their life and they think they're going to close on something else, they can't. So, again, that's another reason to.
Right. Luckily, we had other buyers in the backdrop waiting, so it didn't hurt us so badly. But if you're a homeowner, you're starting from scratch.
Yeah.
And you're just 2 generations removed from the seller, and it becomes very, very difficult. Anyway, but I think we've come to the end of our time, Jamell. Thank you very much for being with me this week.
Thanks
and
for
I'll
having
be
me.
seeing you in the office. Well, next time I go to the office with COVID. And thank you, everyone, for making the time and joining us on Leave the Key Real Estate Radio. My name is Larry Wagner. Visit us at leavethekey.com. That is leavethekey.com. Leavethekey.com for your real estate solutions. Thank you.
Life used to be so hard.